Welcome in, everybody, to Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you're with 8-Man Extreme when you request your appointment online. $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare. Modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Welcome in, everybody. Good to be back on Sunday for the show. And not a lot of action going on in 8-Man football this weekend, Zachary. Only 2 games of the teams we cover. There's one other game going on we may mention something about. But before we get to the game recaps, I'd like to thank, won't identify the person there, but thank the person who reached out to me on social media and asked us to review the play in the Tennessee Heat game where it was on air. Zachary mentioned that there should have been an ejection for the player. It looked like it was almost a helmet-to-helmet collision, but we reviewed it. We looked back at the footage that we had from our broadcast, and to clarify, and Zachary can back me up on this course. To clarify, was there anything malicious in that collision? Absolutely not. Was there a was there a collision between the two helmets? Yes, that's what we saw in the film. Should there have been a flag thrown? Yes. There should have been a 15-yard penalty. It's because in real time, in that situation, when you see two players collide, and especially the official was standing right there, when you see two players collide with their helmets and another kid falls right to the ground, even if you're late pulling out your flag, there has to be a penalty. Ejection, not necessarily, but flag, yes.
Yeah, there was definitely helmet-to-helmet contact there. I got a little bit ahead of myself, got a little excited, so I apologize for that. But there should have been a 15-yard penalty, but definitely not an ejection.
No ejection from that, at least from what we reviewed and everything. But hey, James, you were up there in the booth as well. You watched a little bit of the broadcast stuff. Your take on it?
I was there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this. First weekend, you're already controversial. Hey, you'll fit right in. Fit right in.
You won't be the most controversial.
Won't
figure
be the most
in sports,
controversial,
but
I popped a little bit there.
Just a little bit.
Won't be the most controversial, but you fit right in. No, I mean it was a pardon the pun. It was a bang play.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's tough. It's a tough judgment call. You got to do the best you can with no form of replay. You really can't go back and look at it again and maybe change the decision if it needs to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's something that'll change. Maybe that's something that can be improved going forward.
But even then, with replay, you don't want
foreshadowing.
Well, Ronnie already talked about it last week. That they're helping them with the tablet
right.
on the sideline. But I mean,
So
even in that case, it's that's an independent game, so it's up to the host school and if they want to do that. But between that and with the rain that was coming down and that we didn't have a tablet that was waterproof, so couldn't get it done on that game. But even then, it's one of those situations where do you want replay to have the ability to throw a flag when there wasn't a flag thrown, or it probably would be used in the case of if there's a potential ejection. And in our opinion, no ejection warranted, so nothing malicious there. But that's besides the point. We're here to recap the games. Let's get into it. So we'll start out with the game we were not present at between the Freedom Cowboys and Lighthouse Homeschool, 52-48. And you look at the box score on that, and you look at the social media posts we made for it. It was one of those situations where it's opening game for Freedom, opening game, I believe, for Lighthouse Homeschool. And you look at the box score, it was a close game all throughout. 16-20, Freedom was leading, and then 20-8 in the second quarter. Freedom still leading. They were leading 40 to make sure I do my math right. 40-24 going into halftime.
Look at you.
And then 14-8 in the third quarter, and then fourth quarter they just got outscored 14-0 for
Private
Freedom.
school
so
math.
Tough.
Bam.
Very tough for a loss for the Freedom Cowboys to take, but nothing to be ashamed about with only losing by 4 points.
Well, and I've got the text updates. A big shout out to Mr. Trent Plank sending me text updates Friday just so I could keep up with how the game was going. And like you said, I mean, it started out, it was tight. It was 16-14. Cowboys pulled ahead, had the lead with 50 seconds left in the first half. It was 34-24. Cowboys got an interception, took it back, pick six. They controlled the game at that point, and then at halftime, Lighthouse was able to come back and kind of kind of jump ahead and take control of the game. Of course, we'll find out more about it later on, foreshadowing. Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one to lose if you're Freedom. I'm excited about covering them all year. I mean, just a great brand of football, a good, great coach. I enjoy interacting with them, and like I said, I'm excited about covering them this year. Every time they play, it's very hard-nosed, very just run it down your throat. They'll throw it a couple of times here or there, but I mean, we even got to see them in Florida last year at HSA, and just a fun team to watch.
It was Division II champions last year, right?
I think it was.
It's either Division II or something along those
We
lines.
should totally know that.
We should. We were. It was not like we were there broadcasting it or anything.
Yeah, no.
Not like it was that, but I'm sure
it was. Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will say something about it in the comments section. Who knows? But
Foreshadowing.
52-48. Freedom travels up here to Tennessee against the Christian Community Colts, and not sure what Lighthouse Homeschool's next game is, if any.
So let me back up. They played in the Division II championship, lost to Southern Prep. Who was, if I remember correctly, they're a military school down there that plays 8-man. So, lost the Division II championship, but still a great team. That Southern Prep team had a lot of good players. Who was the one? They had a fun nickname for him. Can't remember his name, but he was fun. For Southern Prep, they had the running back. He was in the All-American game. You know who I'm talking about. Shoot.
Now you're going to find it. And
now I
probably
got to find
blurted
it.
out last second.
Probably.
He'll look for it. But while he's looking for that, 52-48, the final score on that one. Freedom travels up here to face CCS. Not sure what Lighthouse Homeschool's next game is, but you have it, James?
I got it.
You got
it is Yogi.
Yogi.
It was Aqueus, maybe? But they nicknamed him Yogi. And he was only a sophomore. Might be back. We might see him again.
Yep. Well,
I'd be down with seeing him. Lighthouse's next game is against, because we need to provide that information. Lighthouse's next game is against, and they were a good team last year, by the way. Just throw it in there. Look at that. They've already got stats on there and everything. Their next game is against Tabernacle Christian out of Gardendale. They're a good team as well. Last year, anyways, but we don't cover Lighthouse. But I love Alabama 8-man. It's just as complicated as Tennessee 8-man. So
right.
Maybe we'll maybe we'll add a little bit more Alabama in there as time goes on.
As time goes on, and the game that we were at the first. Not the first 8-man football game played at Charlie Daniels Park, because that came last year, but the first home game of the season for the Tennessee Heat. And what a way to start off the year, especially as an independent program. 27-14 over Christian Community. Now, here's the deal. James had to leave at halftime. Towards the end of the game, he started off telling me the Heat has never beaten CCS in their team history.
Right.
I was told later by somebody up there in the broadcast booth up there in the pavilion that it was 2011 was the last time that CCS lost to the Heat, and James was furious over our phone call after the game saying,
"Okay,
senior
let me
year."
back up. I was not furious.
Yes, you were.
I was adamant it was not 2011. How do I know that? I know that because I played in 2011. It was senior night. It was my birthday. We spanked him. Of course, Josh Bates wasn't playing, but we spanked him. I got the most playing time I've ever gotten. If y'all didn't know, I rode the bench. I was a second-string bench warmer. But anyways, but I was on the team. But so we played him. I knew we beat him in 2011. I knew it wasn't 2011. But from talking to my old head coach, who was around before that, Steve Herndon, former Heat head coach, and then a little bit to Josh Bates, who played for them back then. I'm going to go with 2010. The story is the lights went out in the fourth quarter, so the game was at the Heat's field, which I believe they were playing at Mount Juliet Middle at the time.
Probably.
But the lights went out in the fourth quarter. They had to wait for them to come back up. Heat won the game. So that being said, it was 10 years since the Heat had beat CCS. Still a long time.
Long time.
Long time.
Long time. and 27-14 to win in that fashion. It was, and Zachary, you were in the booth. You can attest how close of a game that was, to where, it was about 14-12 at one point, and then the Heat just had about 14 unanswered points. Is that my math right? 15 unanswered points. So close in there, close throughout the game, and it's one of those situations where it wasn't what CCS did wrong, it's what the Tennessee Heat did right.
Definitely. All the momentum came from the blocked punt with about, 5.5 minutes to go, and then they get that, they get the 2-point conversion, and all of a sudden CCS is put in a position where they have to go down and score. They go, I think it was 4 and out, and then the Heat drive down, they score again, and then at that point CCS was put in a tough position, weren't able to come back. But all game, those two defenses, they were rock solid.
Yeah, Carter Sutton was really looking. You could see it on almost every punt play when we were broadcasting it, is that Carter Sutton was looking for a punt to block. He was looking for something to go with. He kept rushing that offensive line to try and get the punt blocked, and finally managed to capitalize on it.
Oh, yeah, you did. There was multiple times where he was going to, but he decided he was going to stand back, and then he just went all in for it that last one.
And it was just an incredible game to witness. And for Christian community, I mean, to be close, and especially in that kind of situation, we talked with Coach Flanders after the game, and he mentioned they have a lot of young guys that are trying to step up to the plate, and I think holding the lead for 14-12 and doing two offensive drives in a row where they have a touchdown, I don't think there's anything to be ashamed about in that.
Well, and the thing about it is, it's for me, the story about Friday night isn't as much, hey, CCS got beat. Because everyone knew, they had a great lineup the last few years. They've been in 3 straight state championships for a reason. They've had
4 out of the last 5.
4 out of the last 5. But they had a great team. And every year they've been losing some of those players. And last year they lost the last of those players. Everyone knew, hey, they're going to have to rebuild. They've got a great JV program. And they're going to be able to bring those guys up, the guys like Miles Bernard, Drew Belcher, Will Adams. They're going to be able to bring those guys up, but they're still going to have to develop in a game situation. You cannot simulate a game situation in practice. So for me, the story isn't as much CCS lost as it is that the Heat won. The Heat, so many seniors coming back, they only lost 2 seniors last year, and one of them was a starter. But they had so many guys coming back, your Carter Suttons, Trace Aldrett, Goolsby, the Corley boys, your line with Ross Scott, Ty Whitaker. You bring all those guys back, and then Aiden Luchtefeld coming back. It was just they had a great lineup and a great game plan. The rain messed with both teams. So for me, the story isn't, like I said, the story isn't much that CCS lost as it is that the Heat won. Because I think if you put the emphasis on the story about the Heat, that CCS lost, you take away from the accolades that the Heat should get for winning, because you focus on, they beat the defending state champ. Well, forget about that. Not defending state champs, but defending in their
MTAG North division champions.
Not forget about that, but let's shift the focus to the young men that won, and the fact that, hey, they went through the same things that the CCS went through, and they still found a way to overcome. So, I major props to Coach Scott and the guys. Just a massive, massive win. Couldn't be more happy for them. New uniforms, new field. Just a great start for them. I know they were independent last year, halfway through the season. This was kind of their first official year being independent. Great start to the season for them.
Yeah, fantastic.
A lot of momentum going.
And a good thing that Luchtefeld isn't injured either. Man, he went completely down. It's a scary injury at first, and then to see him come back and not be in any sort of concussion situation. Good for him
I mean,
to be back.
if you saw how he played at the beginning of last year, I mean, he was lights out as a freshman, and then all of a sudden he breaks his collarbone, and it's like, okay, or maybe not collarbone. He broke something, and you were like, okay, at least it's a young man. He could still rehab, come back next year. He's got time, and he just picked up right where he left off, in my opinion. So just a great win for the Heat. Good crowd with the situation that was going on. Of course, 2020 wasn't going to let us have a normal start to the season.
Of course not.
I saw somebody say 2020 is my favorite new four-letter word. Just, I hope you have a 2020.
It's the first time we opened with this. It was the first time we've ever had a broadcast open in the rain, and it's the first time we've ever had a lightning delay on an 8-man extreme broadcast. As far as I'm aware, at least from any of the video ones.
We had a game in Bowling Green one year. It was Bowling Green.
Not at the start.
It wasn't raining at the start?
No, you talking about Bowling Green FCA?
No,
Okay.
Bowling Green. It was Bowling Green South Haven, maybe.
Okay.
Or Sacred Heart.
Maybe that was 2016. Before it was before I came up. At least from 2017.
No, we were there. Because it was pouring down. We were in the back of the pickup truck.
That wasn't the beginning of the season. That was like.
So you're saying start the beginning of the season?
Yes, beginning of the season in the rain. Especially because August, you don't expect that much rain because it's summer. It hasn't been raining in Tennessee for the last several weeks.
Gotcha.
We haven't really had any of that. So
it rained a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Tennessee Heat, they've got an 11-man game next week at Red Bowling Springs and Christian Community. They head back home to May Flanders Field to host the Freedom Cowboys on Friday night. And speaking of the Freedom Cowboys, what better person to help us preview the game and get a little bit of insight into the independent program that is the Freedom Cowboys than the head coach himself, Mr. Kyle Collins. Coach, how is it down there in Huntsville?
Well, it's hot and it's humid right now.
Having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Looks like he's on call. We might see if we can get him in just a moment. Maybe try switching around the cords. That might be the case there. See if we can.
Hello.
There he is. All right, just the cord swapped around. Coach Collins, how's it going down there in Huntsville?
Everything's good. It's hot and it's humid. That's how it's going.
That's about the same up here, Coach.
Yeah, it's hot and humid. I mean, we got some rainfall a little bit, but this is getting better. It's getting towards the fall season where it's not as harsh of conditions for sure. So we talked about it in our recap, but on Friday it was a close game you guys had with Lighthouse Homeschool, and unfortunately not the result you wanted. But your thoughts looking back on Friday's game and how your guys played all 4 quarters.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know what we were going to do on Friday night, so we showed up. We played hard. We should have won the ball game, had plenty of chances to win the ball game. We found out where our flaws are and found out where our strengths were. And unfortunately, we had to do that in a game that we lost. But it was an exciting game. Our last 3 possessions, we had 3 turnovers. Hard to win when you got 3 turnovers in your last 3 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
But we had the ball on about 3-yard line with 2 minutes left, and we're trying to push it in, and we coughed it up. And it's kind of like Nelson Mandela says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. So we're going to learn a lot from that. We learned a lot about some kids on Friday night. So as disappointing as it was, I quite honestly walked away thinking, hey, we've got a good core of kids. We got an opportunity to have a good season.
Hey, that's the first time I think we've ever had Nelson Mandela use as a quote on the show.
We're having a lot of first quotes on the show, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
We're getting a lot of good insight.
We're giving y'all football talk, and we're giving you life advice. There you go.
Well, so that's the reason I do the coaching, man. Because, hey, you teach them life while they're playing football, and hopefully they're learning when they don't realize they're being taught.
Was it wet down there, or was it dry?
No, it was a pretty nice night. It was cool. It never did rain. So no, it was dry. Our defense is very, very young, and we have one kid that's coming back from surgery and another kid that popped a quad. So our defensive backfield was pretty shallow. They burn us on a lot of, big home run passes. But you learn a lot. Like I said, I'm not making excuses. Those guys fought hard and they won, and they did what they had to do to win. But I didn't feel terrible about it when I left the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and when you lose the amount of seniors you did, Coach, I mean, it's obviously you like to see the young guys get a chance to play, but that first game, like you said, you've just got to see what you've got and make adjustments off of it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We lost a lot. Lost our entire offensive line pretty much. We lost, the front of our defense. So we had some kids that had really never played any meaningful snaps who played all night. There's nothing that can take the place of experience. And so, they got 48 minutes of experience now. And like I said, it's an opportunity to learn. And some kids that you didn't know would show up showed up. Others that you thought would show up didn't. And that's why you play the game. You figure out what you got, especially in this league.
Now JV's making a big big comeback up here in the Middle Tennessee area. A lot of teams grabbing a middle school or a JV team kind of gives the young guys some experience. What's the JV scene or middle school scene down there
We
between
had
those
we
teams?
Our JV is a part of our team. Of the 30 kids you see on the sidelines, our JV is a part of the team. We do not have a farm system here just because of the way we're structured. So we're not blessed with being able to, teach a kid who's 12 and 13 years old how to run the offense he's going to run when he's a junior and a senior. So it's just one of our struggles. But, I tell people all the time, it takes talent to coach in this league. You go to some of these big high schools, you got all the talent and all the people and all the facilities. In our little league, you got to be, you really got to do a lot of coaching. So we don't have a farm system right now.
Gotcha.
Now, Coach, that one of the interesting things, of course, is that you're an independent program and you're not you don't have to adhere to any conference rules or any of that kind of stuff on policies and procedures. And it's interesting. We talked a little bit about it with Coach Ryan Scott last week about their policies with COVID-19. Take me inside. Once it started, because you guys like to start your practice fairly early on and get your guys ready for the season. Take me through the steps the Freedom Cowboys have taken to get back to football and any other policies you guys currently have.
Well, we didn't have a spring like most. I don't know if anybody did, but and we've kind of adopted the Alabama High School Athletic Association policies and protocol. And so that is pretty much wear mask before or after practice, and when you cannot social distance. We've not been sharing water bottles, so it's a little different than it was. But when you blow the whistle and it's time to practice, it's kind of like it always was.
Well, it's good that that's kind of the same thing that the Tennessee Heat have done. They've adopted some of the TSSAA policies, and
Right.
It's really good to see that. Of course, the other interesting part is that you guys are because of you being in a different state. I know I talked with Coach Don Brown, and they had to move their game with you guys up to Kentucky because each
Right.
state has everything differently.
Right.
So it's very interesting, and I'm sure not just yourself, but all the players and families are really thankful that they're still able to have football, especially as an independent organization.
Absolutely. We had a fantastic crowd Friday night. Lighthouse is only about an hour and 15 minutes away. They had a big crowd. I don't really pay a lot of attention to the crowds during the game, but I did notice when I looked up there, it was packed out pretty good. The folks were supposed to be sitting away from each other, but I think people are starved for sports, starved for entertainment, and so we're just glad to do it. I know the parents have been very supportive of what we're trying to do. I think the kids are really enjoying it. One of the things we've talked about numerous times is there's millions of high school kids all over this nation that are not getting to do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Consider it a privilege, consider it an honor, take advantage of it, and enjoy the heck out of it, because, what people don't realize, what young people don't realize, is that you can play softball and bowling and tennis and golf and basketball, the rest of your adult life. When you get through a high school, contact organized football is over for you.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think it hits kids until it's too late, but man, I preach it all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. James touched on it a little bit, and you mentioned about losing some players in the past and trying to get your guys up to speed on the season. Which players, not just from Friday, but from the practices you have, tell me about some of your players that you're impressed with, and not just their leadership skills, but just their athletic ability and how well they're performing. Tell me about some of the players that you're really impressed with and how they're going to perform this season.
Well, the number one kid that comes to mind is number 33, Joshua Butler. Been with the program about 4 years. He's really taken on a senior leadership role, but man, his motor just never turns off. Plays hard. I tell the kids, if you're going to make a mistake, make it full speed. He absolutely, if he's going to make a mistake, he makes it full speed. He ran for, 115, 120 yards the other night on 20-plus carries, had 3 touchdowns. on defense, 9 tackles with 3 sacks and a fumble recovery. It was absolutely, he was the best football player on the team. Uh, I would say the best football player on the field that night. Our offensive line is young in that they haven't got a lot of playing experience, but those kids up there, I think, are doing a good job. And we've got 2 absolutely raw green rookie quarterbacks, and Nathan Ogletree, and then Malachi. I call him Tua because he is a Hawaiian, and that's easier to say than to say Malachi. But both of those guys struggled a little bit, but both of them showed some signs that they could get some things done. And from an overall standpoint, the one guy that stood out was Joshua Butler, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. It's that we're looking forward to seeing him on Friday night. Now, of course, another bit you mentioned it earlier about there's a lot of players around the nation who are who aren't able to play fall sports, and of course, telling your players to be thankful that they're in that position. And especially as an independent organization, there are some. There are some schools that might be wary of scheduling with you guys because of everything that's going on, and thinking they're not holding the same standard as the major athletic organization for the state. But fortunately, you guys have a lot of you're crossing over a decent amount to Tennessee and still playing with a lot of schools in the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference. So out of the games you guys have, and it's looking like a pretty good schedule. If I counted, it's about 7-8 games on the year. So tell me which of the games that you guys are playing, which ones you think you're looking the most forward to, and some that maybe your players are knowing, especially with those who've been with the program, some of the games that they're looking to. I'm ready to have a good game.
Well, let me tell you something. This week against Christian Community, it's become a little bit of a rivalry. We've been playing each other for years. They always have an outstanding program. They always test us. I've heard y'all talking before I got on about their success over the last couple of years, and we've had some battles with those guys. We feel, and it's really true with everybody in MTAC. To be honest with you, we always know when we go play one of these MTAC teams, we're going to get tested, and we like to play them. We like to play them because we like the test. It tells us a lot about ourselves. But it's also just like Friday night. You're in a battle for 4 quarters. It's a lot easier. I know people don't understand it. It's a lot easier to coach when you're battling down to the last minute than it's a blowout. Either way, because if you're trying to pull your foot off the pedal to try to not score, that's counterintuitive to everything you believe in. So that's very difficult. And so we enjoy coming up there or having those guys here, whether it's Franklin Christian, whether it's Christian Community, whether it's Sacred Heart. Always battle tested, always well coached, and we enjoy the competition. This week is a big week for us. We found out a little bit about ourselves. I've watched a little bit of film on Christian Community. They seem to be gelling together pretty good. That was a sloppy night they had up there. So I don't know that you can really tell so much about them. Obviously, we got Tennessee Heat later. So this week's big. We got to bounce back. We need to get into the win column, obviously. But we know these guys, and we're going to White House, and they always have a great crowd, and they always put on a good test. So bottom line is we just take it week by week. I know there's a lot of impact on that schedule. I really don't worry about them. I know it sounds like coach speak, but it's true. I can't worry about next week. I got to take care of this week.
Well, Spencer, the record is 2-2 in the last 4 years, so it should be a good one Friday.
Oh,
Coach, you mentioned coming up here, and I know you don't really pay attention to the crowd or the outside circumstances, especially when you're focusing on a game. But is there an away field? Obviously, home sweet home. But is there a away field or a place that you personally like to travel to and play a game at?
I like White House. I'll be honest with you. Not because we're win or anything. It's not that. I like the fact that we've been playing up there for years. The first game we ever played up there was in a monsoon, and we won it in the last second. And ever since that trip up there, we enjoy going up there. Great field. If I recall, it's an 80-yard field.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And, that takes away some advantages that we may have, but it also takes away some advantages that they may have. So that's one. I like that one. Franklin Christian has always been great host when we've come up there, so we've always enjoyed that place too. And we've had success and defeat in both, so we know how it feels both ways.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time out of your Sunday to give some insights to the viewers and everything. And, of course, you guys are going to be in prime time under the lights in White House because you're the only 8-man football game that's going on in Tennessee on Friday. So we're looking forward to meeting with you again, to seeing all your guys perform, especially against one of the most intense rivalries you have.
Well, listen, I appreciate everything that you guys doing, bringing attention to the 8-man football. I love coaching it, and I know that the kids love playing it, and you guys have been a great benefit to us. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, thank you, Coach.
All right, y'all take care.
Yep.
All right, we'll see
Thank
you.
Again, that was Coach Kyle Collins of the Freedom Cowboys. Get him on the show. A lot of good insights, especially going ahead of Friday's game.
I love talking to Coach Collins. Just a good down to earth. A lot of people don't know he's former Auburn running back. The only reason you've never heard about him being an Auburn running back is because of a gentleman named Bo Jackson. I believe it was Bo. Auburn's had another really good running back. I think it was Bo. I got to look it up.
It's a good thing he's still not able to hear us on
former Auburn
call.
running back nonetheless. So, always fun to talk to him. Now we've had, let's see, who did Ronnie bring up last week? Aristotle.
And Aristotle, I think it was Aristotle was the big one. I don't remember anybody else on there, but
And then we've had Nelson Mandela this week. So, man.
yeah, it's been interesting, but another great interview with one of the coaches on there with Coach Kyle Collins. What was your big take from that interview, Zachary? Any big thoughts you're looking forward to this Friday?
Well, this like he said, the 80-yard field, it takes away advantages for both teams, and I'm actually looking forward to this rivalry. It looks like it's well evenly matched, both young teams, and it feels like a must-win, but it's really not. It's not an in-conference game, but these are both young teams who are trying to gain confidence going into the season.
It's going to be interesting to see.
That's the thing that intrigues me the most too. Is both of these teams have been strong for a while. They've both gone to Florida. They've both have won a whole bunch of games. Like I mentioned, the series is 2-2 in the last 4 years. They didn't play each other for a few years, and then they played each other in Florida in 2015, and then from there they picked it up and went back and forth, home and home. But we're used to seeing two super strong teams, and I'm not saying they're not strong now, but these are both, like you said, super young teams. So I'm excited to see these guys step up, and some of these guys that are maybe sophomores or juniors keep that rivalry going. It's not a bad rivalry, but keep that rivalry going, and get to know each other and play each other over the next couple of years. Like some of these guys that have graduated have gotten to know each other.
Yeah, it's one of the best rivalries in 8-man football that's been around. I wonder when was the first time CCS played Freedom. You think 2008?
He said he mentioned it. Hang on. Let's see. I've got Max Preps pulled up.
You said the overall record was 2-2, right?
In the last 4 years, the last 4 meetings. So Max Preps,
at least as far back as those stats have.
Right. So Max Preps has. Let's see. Let's scroll on down. Varsity. I think Max Preps. I want to say they go back to 2005. Anyways, I don't want to burn up time, but I am interested in this. We should have asked him what year it was. He said it was in a monsoon.
Yeah, monsoon. Was
that was about the time for someone to comment.
Yeah, now
come on.
If somebody has our as 8-man football history, you can definitely help us out in that. Wall James.
Okay, so Max Preps goes back to 2005. For CCS, and they might have played it back then. Of course, records aren't great from back then. Let's see, 2006, 2007. It may have been. I believe it was back then because the Freedom's been around for a minute, for a hot minute.
Yeah, they've been around for.
Let's see.
While he's looking this up, it's a perfect time for me to talk about. All right, you got.
So I got a game in 2018. He said they won or lost that game against CCS in the rain.
He said they won it.
He said they won it.
He said
Okay,
they
so
won
it
it.
wasn't this year. It wasn't this season I'm looking at. 2008, Freedom beat. Oh yeah, it might have been. Freedom beat CCS 20-18 in 2008 in White House. So that might have been what he was talking about. Which, if that's the case, 2008. So you're looking at 12, 13 years. I mean, that's on up there.
So now about 12 years on that rivalry. Maybe it goes back a little bit further, but who knows. But before we get into the game previews, we want to let you guys know about some new sponsors we have on board and tell you guys about how that's going to go down. So we'll start off with, you saw it a little bit during the broadcast on Friday, but the Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay halftime report. So here's how their partnership is going to work. Every Friday, every Friday when we – or actually – every game day that we post on our social media where we're going to have a broadcast, we're going to give all of our fans the opportunity to ask us any questions. And you'll have the entire day to submit your questions either in the comments section on that post on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, in our personal messages on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. It'll be on that social media post. When we go live, that is the cutoff point for when you can submit your questions. And we will cover whoever's question we end up answering on the Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay halftime report. Whoever's question we end up answering, you will receive a discounted ticket to Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay. It'll be about depending on which one you choose, you'll get a link for being able to purchase either of those. It'll be about 60 to 80% off. So
I was about to say, Spencer. I mean, it's a huge discount they're
yep,
getting.
Huge
and a huge
discount.
shout out to Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay.
Yep. So you'll be, and I believe they extended their operating season because of them being closed through May and June. So they may have extended it through November. So you have plenty of time to be able to go up there and go visit the amusement park, go visit the water park. Hurricane Bay is what they're more known for, but they got good coasters up there. Went there back in 2018. But like we said, on social media, when we make our game post, you can submit your questions of what you would like us to answer, and whichever one we choose, we'll talk about it on the Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay halftime games, and that's for every game broadcast that we have.
Now, here's the caveat. You have to comment. You cannot DM.
Oh, okay. I originally said on DMs.
Oh, you said DM. Okay, DM it. Oh, that's fine.
Either DM or in the comments section.
Yeah. Well, if you DM it, it keeps other people from seeing it and then calling it a stupid question. Which there's no such thing as a stupid question. So yeah.
Either DMs.
Let's go DMs.
Okay, solely DMs.
You have to DM the question when you see the game post. Any questions before that game post will not count.
Mm-hmm. It's only in between when that game post is up and when our broadcast starts, and that's any day.
And the game post, we're not going to set a time for it.
Nope, there's no time.
You just got to pay attention.
It could be 5 minutes before the broadcast, or it could be 50 minutes.
It's not
going
to be 5 minutes before the broadcast.
James does a good job of social media.
I'm the one that posts it, and it just depends on the day.
Right.
When did I post it? Friday. It was like 7 o'clock. No, it was like 6:30, 6
It was in the morning because
it
it
was
woke me
way
up.
up in the morning. Did it really?
Your notification woke
No,
up.
Heck of a way to wake
The
up.
dedication of this man. It's
been a long time since I got to wake somebody up.
So and then I retweeted it with the comment while I was half asleep.
Yeah, and he mentioned
That's
something about this
true.
is a big match for MTAC, and I told
said,
him, hey, man.
This is the first MTAC game, which technically it still was the first MTAC game, but
Yeah, I mean, for one of the MTAC schools, yeah,
For an
but
MTAC
it's
team.
for an MTAC team, yes,
It
but
was
for affecting the playoffs, no,
Producer
that's
Jack over
actually
here
it wasn't the
eating
first
wings.
head-to-head.
that
Wings smell real good.
the first game actually that affects MTAC seeding or playoffs or any of that is September 4th between Christian Community and Sacred Heart.
Yep.
That's the first game.
Yep.
So
And I did look up Coach Collins, and if my research is correct, it was Bo Jackson.
I was about to say I
It
looked
was.
it up too, and it was Bo.
okay, all right. That several answers,
bow time.
several questions answered. Ben, we'll answer whichever question on the Kentucky Kingdom Hurricane Bay halftime report for the broadcast that we do this season. So be on
Give
the
them a
lookout
good
for
one.
that.
Make them work for
Yep,
it.
make us work for it. And our second sponsor of the year in regards to giveaways is the Chick-fil-A Extreme Player of the Week. We're proud to have another year of Chick-fil-A partner. And since we're not doing the All-Star game anymore, we needed them to partner in some way, shape, or form. So we figured. So here's
It's not. It wasn't a need. We wanted them to.
Exactly.
They wanted to partner with us.
Exactly.
And there you go.
exactly. So every Tuesday post goes up of voting for the Extreme Player of the Week. I believe this week we're going to do it on Google Forms. We're working on getting the website back up.
There'll be a link on our Instagram bio, and then we'll tweet it out, and it'll go on Facebook as well. You'll click it, and it'll go to Google Forms.
And we'll provide the stats on all of the posts as well, so you have your reference there. And the voting will be until Wednesday night, I believe, 24 hours.
Yes.
All right.
So, 24 hours from whenever the post goes up.
Yep. So 24 hours from whenever the post goes up for voting. And then the winner of that will be announced on Thursday, I believe. And the winner of that, they will receive 2 Chick-fil-A meal cards. Yeah, for the player themselves and for one other one other friend. You guys can go to Chick-fil-A. I know that
we are literally helping you out with your dating life. All you gotta say is slide in the DMs and go, "Hey, girl, want to get some Chick-fil-A? We're not gonna affect your budget because it's a free Chick-fil-A meal card." There you go.
Well,
we help you with everything.
Now we got to win.
There you go.
Jeez.
There you go.
But
all you got to do is, producer Jack, all you got to do is go get 6 sacks. That's all you got to do. Just, catch a couple touchdowns.
Jeez.
So if you're a receiver, your quarterback needs to be your best friend so he can throw you some touchdowns.
Or the quarterback needs to hope the receivers are his best friends to be able to get those catches.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, a dropped catch. Why didn't you catch it? Chick-fil-A, man, I need it. I hope that doesn't happen.
You kind of irked me, and I didn't want you to have the Chick-fil-A. So. Well, talk about the drama we're about to cause.
Yes, exactly. But again, Extreme Player of the Week, and of course, we only had one game this week that we covered. Well, actually, we'll probably get some stats for the Freedom Cowboys, so somebody could be the player of the week from that game. But of course, we'll see if we can get the stats and everything from that. But it will be 2 Chick-fil-A cards given away to whoever wins the voting on that. Again, Tuesday, the voting closes Wednesday, 24 hours from the post, and then Thursday it's posted, and either we'll get those cards to you at a game, or we'll send them in the mail, something like that. Yeah, we'll either give it to you at a game, depending on which one we're going to, or we'll give it to we'll mail it off to your school or your organization.
We'll use good old snail mail.
Mm-hmm. It'll be one of those two. But yep. Glad to see Chick-fil-A involved this year, as well as Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay.
Random thought.
Oh no.
And this is kind of inspired by Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Isn't it so oxymoronic that post office employees have email addresses?
That is one of the. Why? Why do you? What does this have to do with football?
I'm just saying. Anyways,
I'm just saying. You just blew Zach's mind on that.
He's over here going,
wait a minute.
Wait, they have what?
Why are you booing me? I'm right. Sheesh. But all right, Kentucky Kingdom Hurricane Bay halftime report and Chick-fil-A Extreme Player of the Week. All right, time to get into our game predictions. Looks like both of you started 1-0 on the year from last week's predictions. Zachary took.
That's right. You picked the same as me.
Yeah, he picked the same as him. We're waiting to see when the controversy is going to start, and we'll see how it goes. So we'll mention it. It's an 11-man game.
Let me say something. You know who you are. I'm 1-0.
Stop.
Just let that marinate.
Stop it.
Let it marinate. Let it marinate. Okay, it's marinated long enough.
Jeez. I had to call him out on air like that, man.
I didn't call him out.
Yes,
he knows who he is.
Jeez.
It's just too bad 2 weeks ago he said his whole name. So
that is true.
That's true.
That is true. Just a week ago, so you could put the pieces together. But we will mention it, even though it's not an 8-man football game. The Tennessee Heat, they travel to Red Bowling Springs for an 11-man game this coming week.
And for that game, I will not be ashamed of having a Heat bias. I will accept the label of having Heat bias. I am 100% Heat. Go Heat. Beat Red Bowling Springs.
You going to make any prediction on the 11-man game, Zach?
I mean, I'll take a prediction. I'm also going the Heat, but I like their air attack, and with a wider field, I feel like with the 11-man, they'll excel even more. In this game, I think they're superior in talent to Red Bowling Springs, and I think they'll win. Maybe. And
Red Bowling Springs is coming off getting whooped.
Yes, I think they'll win by. I think they'll win by double digits.
All right, we'll see how that one goes down. And in prime time, the only 8-man football game going on in Tennessee. Did you see if Evangel is playing a game?
They are. They are playing East Coast homeschool. Small team that had football back in the day, quit doing football, and this is like their second or third year back. Freedom plays them at the end of the year.
Okay.
But Evangel does play East Coast. So
is that an eight-man game?
Yes.
Okay.
East
So
Coast plays
Evangel is
8-man.
playing. So that's the only other 8-man game that we know of that's in the region. However, the only 8-man game that's occurring in Tennessee, we're happy to say we're going to be there. Christian Community School taking a tough loss against the Tennessee Heat last week. They're going back to May Flanders Field and hosting the Freedom Cowboys. And as James mentioned, in the last 4 meetings, it is 2-2 in the record. Anytime a team is facing Freedom, the game is always intense. Anytime you bring the Freedom Cowboys onto the field, it's just one of those teams that Coach Kyle Collins always the coaching system works incredibly well. And although they take some losses at times, Freedom knows how to bounce back. They know how to get a game. It's the same with CCS. CCS with the coaching of Flanders. They know how to bounce back. And are we having a rock, paper,
Rock, paper,
scissors
scissors, shoot is what we're doing.
For
I'll tell you what it's for.
I know exactly
Rock, paper,
what it's
scissors,
for.
shoot.
And
Okay, you beat me.
All right.
Okay.
So you get to make the first prediction.
Oh, no, you can go first.
Oh, you want me to go
I
first?
pass.
All right,
I
bet.
He deferred the choice to the second
Bet.
show.
All right.
Jeez. All right, James. CCS, Freedom. It's either you're going to be accused of having Tennessee bias, or people are going to accuse you of having Freedom bias.
Well,
which they
no,
always
it's
will.
either CCS bias or I'm anti-CCS.
Yeah, they're always.
That's how it
There's
goes.
going to be an accusation of that, but
I got some of that last week for picking the Heat.
exactly. All right, James. The Colts and the Cowboys. Who you got at May Flanders Field?
CCS stumbled a little bit on their home field last year. They took I want to say just 1 L. Might have been 2. Let me double check that way I don't speak out of turn. I know Ezel Harding beat them, and that was it. Ezel Harding beat them on their field. And then the last time they had won at home was in 2016 against Lighthouse. Rivalry week.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the beginning of that season, Freedom beat them at their field. All this is inconsequential because on Friday night, Coach Flanders getting the dub.
You're saying
And the Colts.
CCS?
The Colts are going to get the dub. Plus, they don't have to travel 2.5 hours.
That is true. There's
So-
travel factors into it.
Home team is 1-0 this year.
What does Freedom have to do to get the dub on the road?
Play better than CCS.
Any other analysis than that, my man?
I haven't gotten to see him play.
Fair enough. Zachary, are you taking the James train, or are you going separate on this?
Disclaimer: everyone in the studio knew that I was going to pick CCS before James picked.
That
But
is true.
I think the forecast for Friday says that we're supposed to start bringing about 1. I think that CCS. I love their defense last week. I thought they played really well. I think they can control the clock, control the game, and I think it'll be close. I think it'll still be close. Freedom has a great offense. CCS won't be able to hold them down the whole game, of course. But I think CCS in a close one.
It's going to be interesting, and I actually did get a correction here. So there is another, essentially a preseason game going on between Franklin Christian Academy and Franklin Classical School.
That's
They're
a
having
scrimmage.
refs, scoreboard, everything. It doesn't count towards their team's records, and it's a full 4-quarter game. So technically there is another sort of game going on, but it's counted
It's not
counted as a
legit-
scrimmage.
It's not the legit Battle of Franklin.
No, it's not. That comes later in the season. That comes on October 23rd. That's later on in the season. But so there is technically some other action going on in the year. But the only official game that counts towards records, CCS Freedom on Friday night. We're looking forward to it for sure. We're going to be there, live coverage 6:45. Don't forget to submit your questions and vote for the Chick-fil-A Extreme Player of the Week on Tuesday.
Do it.
Yeah,
Do it. Even if you're not a fan of one of the teams that played, or you don't play for one of those teams or something, pick your guy and vote for him. Vote based off the stats. Look
Yep.
at the stats and say, hey, who do I think had the best game? Who impressed me the most?
Right.
Like, vote. Exercise. It's
Exercise
just like
your
what you
vote.
should do in November. Exercise your right to vote.
And there's some who will exercise their right not to vote. But however, James encouraging them to
I'm
vote.
encouring you to exercise your right to vote.
Exactly.
Pay it forward. Give somebody Chick-fil-A without having to spend a dime.
Pay it forward. Before we sign off, somebody gave a comment about how is Ezel Harding going to be this year. James, you want to address it? You want to address that? Somebody asked how is Ezel Harding going to be this year.
Why don't you ask that question on Friday?
Ask it on Friday. Submit your question on Friday. Maybe.
How's Ezel Harding going to be? I don't know. I haven't gotten to see them.
Yeah, same thing with the Freedom
Go read
Cup.
the extreme preview.
Yeah, read the extreme preview. You'll see the kind of the losses and the gains they had, that kind of thing. We'll see what
Bam.
goes from there. Answered.
Check out that
easy.
extreme preview. Shout out to TennesseeHighSchoolFootball.com
Right.
for posting that. Big shout out to them. Hey, shameless plug.
No, always shameless plugs on that.
First off, you need to follow our social media.
You need to follow our
Facebook,
social media.
Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Follow all of them.
All of them. Just if there's a social media app, go follow us.
Follow.
Second off, at some point this week, we're not going to tell you when. At some point this week, helmet schedule's dropping.
Yep, some point this week.
At some point this week, helmet schedule is dropping.
We've seen the basically finalized product of it. Of course, it's
it looks good.
It's a week late from the start of the season, but that's because
so it doesn't have 2 games on it. Ugh.
Exactly. You'll
It's
get
like
the rest
60
of
other games.
60 other games, and that helmet schedule's it looks good.
Looks great.
Really does.
Shout out to Mr. John Williams. Nails it every year.
Yep, really good. Well, that's go ahead.
And a shout out to Signs First of Franklin for
Yep.
sponsoring it. Got our game banners from them, and just
banners look great.
Great, they look good.
Yeah, we hung up
good.
the 4x4. It really lasted in the rain. We had the Velcro zip ties on it from where we were at the Heat game. We didn't hang up the 3x6 because by the time we were.
Well, and now we have actual zip ties.
Yes, we have actual zip ties, and next week we'll be hanging up both of those banners.
Yep,
That'll
look good.
It'll look good for sure. But well, that's.
You've got to be excited.
You got anything else?
I wonder if CCS has concessions.
That's a good question, actually.
I'm sure you'll be all stoked to.
Well, yeah,
get your sandwich.
If they'll
you
do
say
it, if they'll do the Philly cheesesteak, if they'll do it, that's the question.
Now I got to hit you up
because I know
RKO
that
out of nowhere.
Hey man, I have to I have to give respect where respect is due. I have to give credit where credit is due. It's just like you have your shout outs on the show. Philly cheesesteak is really
fine.
good.
Give them a shout out, whatever.
If they're hosting the MTAC Championship this year, they better have that Philly steak sandwich. They better have it. That's the rule. Any other shout outs before we sign off? Have you got them all out?
Shout out to Coach Ryan Scott and the whole Heat organization for just being great host Friday night.
Yeah.
Great host. Love the field. Love the setup, the environment.
The TH on the field in the middle.
Just great. Great kickoff. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah. It was a great kickoff to the season. And
I'm sure you guys are excited about being at May Flanders Friday night.
Oh, yeah. They're always a good host to us as well.
So there you go.
No issues with them.
I'm good on the shout out. Shout out to Zach and Jack, the Zach and Jack Attack.
Yes.
On Performance Friday night, first broadcast. Shout out to them.
Yep. You got any shout outs, Zachary?
No.
No, don't think so.
Shout out to Milo's. Oh, speaking of
James
helmet
took it all.
schedule.
James took them all from you.
Of helmet schedule.
Okay? You got one last update before we go.
Well, it's going in our Dropbox. In the Dropbox, we're gonna get the link, and I'm looking at it.
It looks good.
That's tight. That's tight.
That's
good.
Oh yeah,
son.
Again, John Williams knows what he's doing. He's always good with
the
designs. Well, that's gonna do it for Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you're with 8-Man Extreme. Oh, looks like the outro theme isn't playing. I selected the wrong thing. I apologize for that. All right,
Spence, you can't be doing that.
Let's try that one more time. Okay. That's going to wrap it up for Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you're with 8-Man Extreme when you request your appointment online. $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare. Modern medicine the old-fashioned way. For James, Zach, everybody in studio, Spencer Thompson signing off. We will see you next week for CCS Freedom.